anyone who missed it, in response to everything related to the Olympic boxer who was accused of being a man, wrongfully so, as a quick clarifier for anyone who missed it, um, a boxer from Italy was slated to fight a boxer from Algeria. Angelina, sorry, Angela Carini ended up fighting Iman, let's see, Khalif. And after the fight, people accused Iman Khalif of being trans and being a man. I have seen every number of accusation at this point against this woman, and there is no evidence whatsoever that this woman is trans. The only crumb of evidence that has been produced was that a now defunct, decertified, not taken seriously by the IOC, International Olympic Committee, organization, the, I think, IBA, International Boxing Association, again, a decertified org at this point, said that she failed a gender test. Now, they didn't actually end up clarifying why, and they said that the details are confidential. They also didn't actually do anything related to, they didn't actually go through any due process, which is why the IOC, which is why the Olympics said, we're not taking you guys seriously if you aren't even able to have these things go through a fair procedure. You decided she failed the test. You didn't tell her what test she failed. You apparently didn't test for testosterone. Also, everything is confidential and your results cannot be verified.
They also being trans investigating Ledecky, who is also a cis woman.
Oh, yes.
This transphobes are the most sexist people on the planet.
So the other thing, my taxi driver who's Algerian literally said that trans people can't even live in Algeria. He agrees. He doesn't agree that trans people should be illegal anyways, LMAO. Yeah. So there's a couple major problems with everyone who's transvestigated her. First of all, her birth certificate and her passport say female, and everything about her, especially her photographs and every piece of information we have of her, is that she's female. Second of all, Algeria is a Muslim country that is transphobic. Being trans is not legal. You cannot legally be trans or transition. How is it possible then that she did and then is now Algeria sent a trans woman to fight for Algeria? That's not what? No, that's not what has happened. Yeah. No. So the only organization that has claimed that she has failed a gender test has been, well, an organization that nobody takes seriously anymore because they are widely corrupt. Okay? So the problem is this isn't accurate either. She's not trans. She has a medical condition that increases her T and makes her produce XY chromosomes. Okay, first, you cannot produce XY chromosomes. That's not, you don't produce chromosomes. Second of all, there is no evidence that she has XY chromosomes. There is one person who I believe either was the CEO or someone that worked with the now defunct IBA who said that we think that she has XY chromosomes. The original testing says everything was confidential and sealed, so we don't even know why. So there is no verifiable proof or source on the information that she has XY chromosomes. This is not a thing that has happened. No one has any proof of this, because it was all confidential. And anyone claiming to have proof of this, please, I implore you to find it and send it over because it doesn't exist. I looked for it. So just to be clear, this is from our understanding of the situation, a cis woman. XX chromosomes, was born female, is still female, lives in a country where being trans is not allowed. This is a cis woman, okay? This is just a normal cis woman. Is it possible that she has elevated levels of testosterone? Yes, but I mean, lots of things can happen to cis women that increase their testosterone. For example, uh, having PCOS. That can increase your testosterone to abnormally high levels, but you're a cis woman who has cis woman sex organs. You have fallopian tubes and ovaries and eggs and a uterus, and you can get pregnant and you can conceive, and you are in all ways XX chromosomes. In all ways, you are female, and you can have abnormally high elevated levels of testosterone. It's a symptom of PCOS, which is a very normal condition that applies to, uh, or sorry, exists in many, many, many women. None fried, thank you for the tier 1. IBA is not necessarily defunct, but it is disavowed by the IOC and several national boxing federations that participated in the IBA events. Yes, thank you. That is a more accurate statement. That's a more accurate statement. Basically, it's this org that nobody takes seriously because it is very corrupt. Very, very corrupt. What is PCOS? It is polycystic ovary syndrome, I believe is what it stands for. Basically, your ovaries have large cysts in them. It's a very normal, or not normal, but like common hormonal issue that a lot of cis women experience. And it can cause a variety of different issues. But it doesn't, other than the side effects and consequences, it doesn't stop making you be female. It just impacts your hormones. You're still very much so female in every metric of that word, or every meaning of that word. So, moving on. Okay, so I'm just getting the documents on the side ready here. So this poor woman, okay, who there are literally no documentations on having XY chromosomes. There's no evidence of this, literally nothing. Wow. Associated. Oh, I misspelled it. That's why. I was like, what the? I think someone said that the AP has a good document on this. Algerian boxer clinches medal at Paris Olympics after gender outcry. Let's see. Oh yeah, I know she beat this transphobe Anna Luca Hamori of Hungary. Lol. Get got, idiot. Okay. Where is it? Here we go. IOC President Thomas Bach on Saturday defended Khalif and fellow boxer Lin Yuting of Taiwan. That's a sort of separate story. We'll stay on this story really quickly. They were disqualified in the middle of last year's World Championship by the IBA, the now banned former governing body of Olympic boxing, after what it claimed were failed eligibility tests for women's competitions. Both had competed in IBA events for several years without problems, and the Russian-dominated body, which has faced clashes with IOC over judging scandals, leadership decisions, and financial issues, have refused to provide any information about the test, underscoring its lack of transparency in nearly every aspect of its dealing, particularly in recent tests. So, as a way to sort of like summarize this neatly for anyone who is just sort of tuning in on this story. Let's grab this here. So here is the IBA, International Boxing Association. Is that what it stands for? Yeah, International Boxing Association. They run basically, or like they judge boxing tournaments. And the IBA for many years, I think it was like for a total of like 5 years, allowed this fighter, Iman Khalif, to fight in their tournaments with no issues. Suddenly, in 2023, without any due process, they claim, actually, you have now failed this gender test and you can't fight anymore. The IOC sees this and says, oh, amongst many other things, sees this and says, oh, we are not allowing you guys to govern Olympic boxing anymore. And many, many, many other boxing associations have since failed to recognize the IBA as a worthwhile, credible source for boxing tournaments. So again, to reiterate, she had been boxing in IBA tournaments for years and they never found a problem. 2023, magically they say, oh, you know, we think you have a gender issue and you can't fight anymore. Also, we're not doing due process. Also, everything's confidential, so no one can ever fight us on it. Olympics, amongst many other orgs, say, oh, this is sus. Amidst all of the other corrupt shit you guys have been up to, we're not taking you guys seriously anymore. Unless you're willing to explain or show us what was failed or whatever, you guys are not worth taking seriously anymore. You're telling me you had no problem with this woman for years and suddenly now she failed your gender test? What gender test exactly was she passing before and is now failing? What's happening here? So, also, just so everyone's on the same page, the vote to ban the IBA from the Olympics was 69-1. There was a wide consensus that the IBA wasn't legitimate. Also, if you go to the why was she disqualified, it's literally 1 or 2 people responsible. So when we're talking about, by the way, when we're talking about, nice, 69. It's crazy that this woman lost her gender test result post hoc. Yeah. When we're talking about the test failing due process claims, it says here, let's see, the IBA, which received the unprecedented punishment of being banned from Olympic participation in 2019, following years with a conflict of IOC, disqualified her for what said were elevated levels of testosterone. Of course, however, there's one other problem. Where is it? Oh, I must have passed it. Let me see. Basically, the TLDR is the board of the IBA did not make the final decision for her to fail her test. It was the CEO and one other guy in the IBA that decided she failed her gender test. And they did no further testing. And then the board later said, oh, okay, sure, whatever you say. So, yeah, I'm going to be honest. Yeah, that doesn't seem very legitimate. That doesn't seem very legitimate. TBQH. Moving on. The TLDR on this, like I said, TLDR on this is that she's just a normal cis woman. There's no evidence at all from any credible source to suggest that she has XY chromosomes, that she's trans, that she has undue advantages because she does not fit neatly into the category of female. And there's no evidence that she isn't female. None, actually. There is no evidence of any of this stuff. So that's the first place that we need to start with, okay? Also, not to mention the fighter that she was up against apologized afterward and said, "This is not what I wanted." And I was a bad sport for not shaking her hand. I was just really like sad because I lost and I had been training for years and I lost anyways. Okay. Now, moving on. Moving on all these, okay? In response to this, many Twitter accounts, okay? End wokeness, I mean, Elon Musk, J.K. Rowling, libs of TikTok, a lot of different accounts started accusing her of being trans, started saying this is an intersex person in the female category. They just started making shit up. Just totally making shit up. And this is all a lead up to the Tyler1 story. Michaela tweets out, "We may have to vote Trump to prevent more stuff like this from happening. I hate to say it," in response to End Wokeness saying that Iman is a biological male. After this, Michaela then experiences a lot of backlash, unsurprisingly, because, you know, what the fuck? Dude, what the fuck? And then she tweets a now deleted tweet that says, that's one person saying, "I feel bad for Tyler," and her saying, "Tyler doesn't like you people either." She then deleted this tweet. Right? And sorry, let me pull it up. Privated her account immediately afterward. And then one second, let me see if I can find it. Where is it? I might have lost it. Doesn't matter. But basically, this tweet was made shortly after it was announced that Tyler1 was going to be helping with broadcasting or basically working with the LCS. And then this came out shortly after, and then a bunch of people started tagging the LCS and saying, "Hey, at LCS, you guys are working with Tyler1, someone who's apparently a transphobe, question mark? Question mark. So yeah, she then deletes this tweet after many people are blowing up at the LCS, blowing up Tyler's mentions, blowing up her mentions. She deletes it, she goes private, and she tweets out this. Sorry. For anyone who doesn't know who any of these people are, Tyler1 is a very big, famous League streamer on Twitch. He started doing chess streaming and he got to like 1900, I think, or something crazy. Very famous in the Twitch sphere if you know anything about League or chess. And Michaela is his girlfriend and the mother of his child. So after she deletes her tweet accusing him of being transphobic, she then privates her account and then unprivates it to tweet this out, saying, "I would like to start off by saying that I apologize to not only the trans community, but all of the LGBTQ supporters in my comments. For my comments. I apologize for the misinformation that I put out. I also apologize. Sorry, one second. For the hate that I put it out. Interesting. I was speaking out of a place of ignorance and carelessness. I have been reckless in the past, and after speaking to close friends of mine, I realized the damage that could have been done based off my actions and how my platform can truly affect people. I've never had the chance to truly reflect and think about the things that I say and how they may affect the trans community. But now realizing that I truly want to apologize for any harm I did, and I will continue to educate myself in the manner instead of instead of spreading hate, I will be sure to stay informed and do my due diligence. I know there are many people in the trans community who get so much hate and can be harmed by such actions just because people don't accept them." This is in response to saying that there was a biological man fighting a woman in the Olympics, which later turned out to be completely false, by the way. I know there are many people. Okay, yes. I would not like to be a part of that. Michaela, how do you write an apology and not like spell check it? This is like poking holes in your you have friends story right now. Because how do you have friends that are telling you that you need to stay educated on these topics and you don't have a single one of them that's willing to spell check or grammar check any of the anyways, that's neither here nor there. Neither here nor there. Let's continue. I would also like to apologize to Tyler1 for speaking on his behalf out of pure ignorance and heat in the moment. It's wrong of me to want to spread hate through someone else's mouth, especially when their opinions extremely differ from opinions of my own. I will be taking some time to reflect more, and where are we? Reflect more and further educate myself on this topic. TLDR, the apology is a pretty boilerplate apology from ChatGPT. Not literally from ChatGPT. There's too many grammatical errors for it to be from ChatGPT. But it's just a standard, sorry, my bad, I was spreading hate. Also, yeah, Tyler1 isn't transphobic, I swear. I'm going to say one thing on this topic, okay? I'm going to stand by what I tweeted out, all right? No. I'm just going to read it out word for word. I think most people are reasonably skeptical anytime someone issues an apology, but I also think that cis allies have a responsibility to help educate those around them. With that in mind, I am and always will be willing to help people to provide resources to those trying to learn. Offer applies to any creators who genuinely want to learn more in a non-hostile environment. I'm always open to talking privately or publicly and providing real hard science on these topics. You can't undo the hurt you cause others, but you can always grow as you learn more. TLDR, open invitation, Michaela. If you actually want to learn about this stuff and you want to see the hard science, like the brain scans, the testosterone levels, the effects on the human body that HRT has, what intersex people are and the different categories of intersex peoples. If you want to see, and I'm not talking about how someone feels, I'm talking about genuine hard science. If you actually want to learn about that stuff, I am always open. I will always be open as long as your message is that you are genuine. Obviously, in instances of like Nick Merckx, because Nick Merckx in his current stance is not interested in learning. There's no benefit to talking like to someone like that because he's made up his mind. He's totally made up his mind. But if, Michaela, you are genuinely interested, I am open to talking, always. Because, and this has been an opinion I've always had, which is if you are an ally to a group, you have, I think, in a way, the responsibility to help educate on behalf of that group. Because it's not fair to push that emotional burden onto the people who already have to deal with the bigotry. So, open invitation. I am happy to provide all my sources on why I believe what I believe, and everything I believe is based on what actual scientists say, scientists who are smarter than me and you, scientists who spend their entire lives dedicated to learning about this stuff, scientists that have found rats that don't have Y chromosomes but still have male rats, even though there's no Y chromosome. Something that we think shouldn't be possible. And yet somehow it still works, suggesting that, oh, maybe maleness and femaleness is based on other things, not just this individual marker of XYXX. And this rigid line that we see of XXXY is not actually fully encompassing of our understanding of this thing. And these things are more complicated than we think that they are. My favorite image to show that sort of explains this idea is this meme. Basic math, advanced math. Basic math, basic physics, 3 states of matter. Advanced physics, 7 states of matter. Basic biology, 2 sexes. Advanced biology, it's a bimodal spectrum of sex. And chromosomes are not the end-all be-all. The thing is, when they teach you stuff in elementary school, it is a very oversimplified version so you can have a basic understanding of how the world mostly works. I didn't learn about plasma as a state of matter. I learned water, air, and solid. Liquid, gas, and solid. And then you grow up and you're like, oh, what the fuck is plasma? What do you mean plasma? No, there's only 3 states of matter. I learned it from my 3rd grade fucking science teacher. What do you mean? The same thing. This is the same exact thing with biology. We create oversimplifications for children to understand. And then when we become adults, we learn the more advanced version of that. Most people will neatly fit into XX female, XY male, but in reality, it's a lot more complicated than that. And my other favorite example to use to talk about this, when people are like, no, intersex people are abnormalities and they're anomalies. The problem with the argument that intersex people are these anomalies and we shouldn't consider this stuff is you're basically arguing that gingers are anomalies. That would be like saying, no, there's only 2 hair colors, okay? Brunettes and blondes. Everything else is mental illness or some weird anomaly. And it's like, no, there's people who are born with red hair. In fact, there's a pretty decent subsection of people who are born with red hair. They're not like weird anomalies that shouldn't be considered. That's just part of the human experience and part of what can happen as a human being. Because everything that exists in human beings is a mutation from a mutation from a mutation from a mutation. How do you think we got fingers, dude? How do you think we got eyes, man? That's every part of human existence is things mutating, and the things that are good or the things that are neutral stay, and the things that aren't don't. In the same way, the intersex people are, there are more intersex people than there are gingers. You would never look at a ginger and say, well, we don't need to create a society for gingers because you guys are such a small percentage of the population. And honestly, you guys are kind of like some random anomalies. No, you'd be like, oh, yeah, that is also a hair color that human beings can have. People can have, most people are going to have brown hair or maybe blonde hair, and some people will have red hair. And that's just what happens because human beings are just a collection of mutations. It's the same thing with intersex people. Most people are going to be male and most people are going to be female and fit neatly into the XX and XY chromosome, a dichotomy we've created. But there's also a huge number of intersex people that we're ignoring and kind of dehumanizing by calling them weird, freaky anomalies, when it's just another expression of the human body that's just different. You've decided to pathologize that for some weird reason that doesn't make any sense, even though you don't do that for other groups of people. I'm fine with ginger people existing. I just don't want my kids being taught that it's okay. Anyways, yeah. So if you, Michaela, or any other content creators are watching this and genuinely would like to learn more, and I'm happy to provide a huge, massive dump of documents from legitimate sources on how biology is just a little bit more complicated than what we were taught in 3rd grade, I would be happy to have that conversation at any time, because I think that that is important for cis people to do, or for allies in general to do. And even though that might not mean that other people will forgive you, or that other people will change their mind on you, or other people can, that doesn't make any sense to do, to not try and give this person the opportunity to learn more, basically. With all of that in mind, I do think that the statement was, at least in part, initially due to the whole, you know, insinuating Tyler1 as a transphobe. But if it's an opportunity that will help you learn, I am all for it, okay? I'm all for it. All right? Because the way I see it is, you don't have to believe any of us. You can just believe what people who are scientists say. That's it. You can just believe what the people who study this shit say. The people who, sit in little nerd lab coats and fucking put shit in vials and spin it around and tell us shit. The people who make the life-saving stuff that we use, you can believe those people. You don't have to believe us. Okay? But after all of this stuff came out, Tyler1. How is gender a part of biology? It's clearly in people's heads. You're so close to getting it. Consider going back and watching the last 5 minutes of the VOD. Or I just explained all of that, but that's okay. Moving on. Tyler1 put out he put out a little statement, okay? And I have some choice words, but I hope you guys agree with me, because I think that they're all very reasonable. All right? Oh man, I'm so excited.
So exhausted today.
And this has been a tough week for me, guys, okay? Because like this I want to like these people. Actually, this is terrible. This is terrible. This is a tough week. Okay? It's a tough week. All right? Why? Well, for a couple of reasons. One, I think Tyler1 is an entertaining streamer. I think he's actually a good entertaining streamer. And I think his chess saga was pretty cool. But two, I know that Michaela has learned in the past to be normal and to stop thinking that she's right. I know she used to have like these really inundated, well, sorry, not inundated. She used to have these really antiquated opinions about sex workers, and she like changed her mind and like learned more. So the way I see it is, she's capable of learning if she wants to. The question is, does she want to? And I have a lot of respect for people who can see fact and change their mind and don't have so much pride and ego that they can't say, oh, yeah, I guess I was wrong. Oops. Oops. The problem is that this is the problem with anyone who engages in transphobic rhetoric. When you say shit like trans people don't exist, it's mental illness, blah, blah, guess what's going to happen? A bunch of trans people are going to get mad at you. And then they see the people get mad at them and they're like, aha, it clearly shows mental illness that you're upset at me. But like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? That would be like calling a black person the hard R, and then they deck you and you're like, see, this is the problem with you hard R's. You just don't know how to have a civilized conversation. You can't say something that is offensive to someone's character, to their personhood, and when they get rightfully mad at you, you accuse them of being unreasonable. You can't do that. You can't treat people like less than. You can't treat people like garbage and dehumanize them. And when they get mad at you, you're like, the left is just so intolerant. They're so mean to me and they're bullying me and they're insisting I conform to their ideas. No, you're being a huge asshole. You're being a huge douchebag and they're treating you like a huge douchebag. That's what's happening. And no one should have to coddle you and tell you like, hey, man, have you tried reading science? Because the science disagrees with you. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not sure what to tell you. Okay, moving on. Let's watch Tyler1's clip, shall we?
I am so exhausted today. I'm not gonna lie, bro.
This emotion is all, you cannot convince me otherwise. This is not even him getting mad at Twitter frogs. This is him getting mad at his girlfriend who won't stop talking. This is him saying, I know I'm dating a woman, but like, dude, can you shut the fuck up? Christ.
You know, bro. It is what it is, dude. We had some drama occur, which apologize, guys, because there were some things said on Twitter about me that were just wild. By the way, apologies for that. Let me just make this clear, real clear. I mean this truly. I do not. I'm a cuss. Sorry, editors. I do not give a single fuck about whatever the fuck people go by. Just the word. If I haven't made it clear in the past, bro, I do not care. Guy, girl,
I'm going to let the clip finish before I say anything, okay?
other, he, him, her, both, race, color. I am so exhausted today. I'm not gonna lie.
I think there's a longer version of it somewhere, but that's basically the gist of it, to be honest. This LSF clip is most of it. Let me see if I can find the other one. Ah, here it is. It's like one version that's like 30 seconds longer.
Doesn't affect me. Let me make that clear. I don't give a shit. They're happy, whatever, man, whatever. And I know it goes a little bit deeper than that because it's like politic-wise, they're like, well, no, because like they're doing this, they're doing that. The kid, bro, I am uneducated. I am ignorant to comment on any of that, by the way. I have no thoughts or no saying. I do not know any, guys, leave me the fuck out of it. I don't know, bro. I said my take, man. I do not care.
And I'm gonna make a couple of opinions, okay? I'm gonna say a couple of opinions, okay? All right. Now, first and foremost, normally when people make this take, which is leave me out of this, I don't cover politics, usually it's unfounded because they're always down to talk about other political things, but then suddenly when it's something that they know that they have the quote unquote wrong opinion on, they suddenly don't want to speak. So in the instance of Brittany Broski, for example, when it came to Ukraine, she wanted to talk. When it comes to gender issues, she wanted to talk. When it comes to racial issues, she wanted to talk. But then when it came to talking about Palestine, she was like, I am not qualified to speak on political issues. Leave me alone. And it's like, wait, so you thought you were qualified in all these other instances, and here's this clip of you saying that creators have a responsibility to talk about issues and use their platform for good, but suddenly when it came to something that you didn't want to talk about, you chose not to talk about it? Oh. Interesting. The thing with Tyler1 is he actually doesn't talk about political issues. He just gets on and screams like a banshee and then loses all of his games. That's what he does. He doesn't talk about political issues. I think the closest he got to talking about political issues is someone in the League community ousted this other dude's. Do you guys remember this story? This dude's girlfriend got an abortion and some other dude leaked it as a bit of drama for fun. And Tyler1 was like, as someone, you used to be a friend of mine, and I'm just going to say you're not a friend of mine, and leaking that type of stuff is not funny. It's not cool. That's fucking weird. That's someone's private medical information, and you're insane to do something like that. Okay, moving on. Which is not even so much a conversation about politics. It's a conversation about, hey, I know I have an association with this guy, and this guy was a friend of mine. We're not friends anymore because of this. And this is not a cool thing to do. So, this is, I think, Tyler1 actually might be the first person. All right? Tyler1 actually might be the first person who's allowed to have the stance. Sorry, let me get to one of his other pause frames. Perfect. He might actually be one of the only people who I believe when they say, I don't talk about political issues. I don't discuss political issues. Stop trying to make me talk about these issues. I don't want to. I want to sit here like a total moron and play League of Legends for 12 hours a day. All right? That's what I want to do. And you know what? If you're consistent with it, and you aren't picking and choosing when you want to talk about politics, I mean, sure. Yeah. That's fine. I don't take issue with that. I don't take issue with that at all. You're not trying to have your cake and eat it too. Okay. That's fine. Now, with that in mind, so let me try and summarize that point. Okay, let's close this. Tyler1. Tyler2. Tyler1's so good. Why isn't there a Tyler2? Weird marks. Thank you for the tier 1. So first and foremost, okay? First and foremost, I respect someone who insists on not talking about politics as long as they are consistent and don't pick and choose when they don't talk about politics. Okay? I think that that's respectable. I think it's very respectable. And I think most of us have a pretty sour taste in our mouth about people saying shit like that, because most of the people who say shit like that, they cherry pick. Most of the people who say shit like that are like, they say it because they spoke about Ukraine, but they don't want to talk about Palestine. That's dumb. You can be informed on one topic, but not another. You've missed the point if that's what you think I'm trying to get at. Okay? That's ridiculous. All right. Now, Starman, thank you so much for the gifts up to Tyler2. Thank you. Now, and Tyler1's been pretty consistent about his desire to only do two things, be bad at chess and be bad at League. So, respectable. To the next point. Someone who is very not transphobic would not respond this way. More clearly, only someone who maybe had a few transphobic opinions would talk this way. I also think that people date people who are similar to them. I also think that Michaela is a lot of things, but she's not a liar. And I don't think she would lie about this. Okay? So I think that Tyler1 has some problematic opinions. And I think that this made it very clear. All right? Because anyone who was very pro-trans people would respond to this criticism by saying, I think that if you are trans, you deserve the same amount of respect that anyone else does. And if you want to have a conversation about who is or who is not in sports, I'm not informed enough to have those takes. And I know that the science is still coming out on all of that. And some studies show one thing and other studies show another thing. but it doesn't change the fact that people deserve to be treated with respect. And being transphobic is not cool. That's what someone who isn't transphobic would say. Just so we're all on the same page, okay? Just so we're all on the same page really quickly. This is someone who has maybe like a few sprinkles of bad opinions would say. So this is like the normie take, which is, I don't, let me explain it more simply. It's like when you talk to a white person and explain to them racism and explain to them how racism exists, and then they tell you, I don't see color. I don't care if you're purple, green, yellow, blue, orange. I don't see color. It's like, but that's not true. That's what I've been trying to talk to you about. Your car's extended warranty. Bias is in everyone, and everyone sees color. Even if you feel like you don't, you have inherent bias that you can't control or can't perceive. Even if you do personally on like a totally fundamental level, treat everyone the same, and you do try to be the best, fairest person you can be, that doesn't change the fact that you have certain biases in your brain that are beyond your control. And this is a conversation that's bigger than just you. This isn't just a conversation about whether or not you're racist or see color. This is a conversation about whether or not racism exists and what we can do to improve the spaces where racism does exist. On the same front, okay, yeah, color blindness is just ignoring the systemic issues, exactly. On the same front, to say that you don't care what someone is a very normie take, and I genuinely believe that he thinks it, and I genuinely believe that he does not judge people for being trans. In his head, I totally believe that he treats people all the same, and he does his best to try and treat people all the same, regardless of who you are or what you look like or whatever. But you have to recognize in a conversation about discrimination, to simply not see the discrimination is ignoring the discrimination inherently. It doesn't make you a bad person. It just makes you a bystander, I think would be the best way to say it. I think that would be the best way to say it. So that's my opinions on that, okay? I don't think that he's like, I think that he's being honest in this clip, and I think he's being honest about his opinions about this stuff. But I also think he has, you know, some other opinions about trans people or non-binary people that he maybe isn't sharing out of self-preservation, which I can understand and respect, okay? Because, which brings me to my third point, I would much rather, 100 times over, I would much rather every single person who does have transphobic thoughts just keep them to themselves and not further spread them like Nick Merckx. If you do think that it's a mental illness, but you treat everyone with respect despite you thinking it's a mental illness, you know what? Honestly, you're doing everyone a favor by shutting the fuck up on the topic. You really are. Because I would rather have you just get on, play your video games, and say, treat everyone fairly. So you're kind of saying something without saying anything. I would rather you do that than spread transphobia, okay? Okay, I would rather you be totally neutral, okay, to be Switzerland, than go and spread garbage, okay? No, please. Why are you assuming he's transphobic, though? Oh, because one, he said that he's ignorant, which means that he doesn't know about anything relating to trans people and all of the hard science that we have that shows that being trans is not just something people made up. And two, people who feel very strongly for trans people and their rights would not speak this way. This is intuition. This is not intuition. This is just basic logic. And the thing is, there are you might be using the incorrect definition or maybe a different definition of transphobia. See, I'll make it a little bit more clear. Racism is a little bit easier to explain because it's been around for so long, and hopefully most of us understand what racism looks like. There are levels to racism. Maybe on the far right side here, you think culture should be totally segregated and we need to put people totally apart, and this is just how black people are, and this is how white people are, and this is how Asian people are. So this is like, who's a good example of who's the most racist person that we can think of? Someone quick, help me out here. I don't have a lot of racist on deck. Don't write Hassan. Nick Fuentes, sure. Nick Fuentes is a good example, I think. Nick Fuentes, let's go with that guy. Which this guy is like a huge racist. Huge racist. Totally believes in segregation, believes that certain ethnicities and nationalities are inferior, essentially, right? So it isn't about being an active transphobe anymore, but about not actively being an ally. No. Just stick with me for a second on this analogy, okay? Stick with me for a second. I'm going to get somewhere with this. But here's the thing. What about the people who say, I don't dislike black people, but I would never let my kid marry one? I mean, I would hire one and I'm friends with them, but I wouldn't want my kid to marry one. You know, because of the culture. Okay, but he never did that though. Just stick with me for a second. Stick with me. I like Tyler1, dude. Please just stick with me. I'm defending him honestly and genuinely instead of just dick sucking for him. All right? I don't need to do that. He already has a girlfriend. So there are levels of racism. You wouldn't say, oh, that person isn't racist because they said that they're not racist. You wouldn't say that, oh, the person who says that they wouldn't let their kids marry a black person, that's still someone who's being racist, right? You guys would agree with that this person is still racist. They're just not Nick Fuentes racist. This is like if we were looking at gear levels, okay? And there's like common, uncommon, rare, epic, legendary. This would be common. And then this would be legendary. Legendary levels of racism right here. And the thing is, you can work on this. You can get people, if you can get someone to the point where they think that other races are still people and deserve respect and we should treat them with respect, you can talk to them and be like, hey man, you kind of have these racist ideas. Okay, and that's the big descriptor here that I want to use. These are the key words here, okay? So there's a difference, I think, between someone who has racist ideas and someone who is racist. In my opinion, someone who is racist is like, it is going to be impossible to move them. They feel it in every aspect of their body and life. Whereas someone who has some racist ideas, they have maybe some stereotypes in their head that we can work on. That we can be like, hey, let's break this down on a more fundamental level. I don't think you're like this racist person, but you're kind of saying some weirdly racist shit. So, like, can we fix this before it gets worse? In the same way, I would like you guys to consider that there are people who hold transphobic ideas oh my God, I'm doing it. I feel like every teacher on Khan Academy. And then there are transphobes. Okay. So a full-blown mythic, even forget about legendary, mythic level transphobe is like J.K. Rowling. Okay. Or the people who think that we need to eradicate them. Who was it that got on stage and said we need to eradicate transgenderism? The final boss of transphobia. Matt Walsh, I think, was it him or was it Michael Knowles? I don't remember. Libs of TikTok, any of these people. These are people who think, I don't want trans people to exist. They are affront to God, and it is all a mental illness. Every aspect of it. Those people, the people who say, I don't want to see it, I don't want to believe in it, I don't want to, nothing, I don't want to be anywhere around these people, and we should not normalize it even a little. These people do not deserve any amount of respect. Let me see if I can find. Here we go. This is the clip, CPAC.
There can be no middle way in dealing with transgenderism. It is all or nothing. If transgenderism is true, if men really can become women, then it's true for everybody of all ages. If transgenderism is false, as it is, if men really can't become women, as they cannot, then it's false for everybody too. And if it's false, then we should not indulge it, especially since that indulgence requires taking away the rights and customs of so many people. If it is false, then for the good of society, and especially for the good of the poor people who have fallen prey to this confusion, transgenderism must be eradicated from public life entirely.
Michael Knowles
The
has the
whole
same grin as Fred from
preposterous
Courage the
ideology
Cowardly Dog.
at every level.
Okay, so this is like, I don't want to see them, they shouldn't exist, blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's about as bad as you can get. And I think once you're at that point, you can legally, not literally, but like you can be stamped with the transphobe tag. Okay? However, there are people who I think have transphobic ideas. So someone with the opinion of like a transphobic idea would think that like, sorry, my mouse is like getting flaccid on me. I mean, my microphone is getting flaccid. So someone who has transphobic ideas or transphobic thoughts would be saying, oh, I think we should treat trans people with respect, and I will use what pronouns they want me to use, but it's not real. It's just in their head, but I will treat them with respect. Or maybe even a little bit more analogous here to the, I wouldn't allow my kid to marry a Black person. It would be, yeah, I'm nice to trans people. There's a trans person at my job, but I would not allow my kid to transition, and I would not accept my kid transitioning. And these are ideas that can be difficult to unpack, but it's salvageable because at the very least, the people on the left side still believe that every human being deserves respect, regardless of who they are. You just need to convince them, no, actually, it's not a mental illness. Here's all this science that shows that, here are these like brain scans that show that like gender isn't as like cut and dry as we thought it was. And here's some science that shows that actually puberty blockers are totally safe. And here's some science that shows that if you, it's such a convoluted sentence, but we'll make it as short as we can. If you take a look at the scientists that study this stuff, we can see for a fact that it's not as simple as XXXY. And it's actually a little bit more complicated than that on a biological level. We're not even talking about gender or gender expression. We're not even talking about that. We're talking about something much more simple. Just we do scans on people's brains and then we tell you what we find. And this weird stuff keeps happening where trans people aren't lying according to the brain scans, which is weird. But I guess if that's what the science says, we have to believe it unless we're going to start disagreeing and not getting vaccinated anymore, right? So the people on the right do not think some people deserve respect on a human level, and therefore they are right to treat certain people this way. And the people on the left think everyone deserves some respect, but I have not unpacked why I don't like this thing or why I disagree with this thing. Do you guys understand? You guys understanding now? These are different things. But just because you aren't the raging transphobe doesn't mean you're pure and that you don't have any transphobic thoughts. In the same way that just because you're friends with Black people, it doesn't mean that you've magically stopped all of the racism in your body. And I think the people on the left can be helped and fixed, and we can give them resources and be like, here, why don't you read these scientific studies? So I would say, based on my evaluation, based on the number of people that I've met, the presentation of this video, I still like Tyler1. And until he says something crazy, I will continue to like him. And especially because even if he was this raging transphobe and like secretly he hated trans people and thinks that they should be eradicated the way that Michael Knowles thinks, that's not what I'm saying. I said if. Even if that was the case, I'm very happy that he's not saying anything. I'm very happy that he doesn't spend his time talking about things the way that Nick Merckx does. And I actually wish more people would do this. More people who spend all of their time playing video games. I wish that they would do this and just be like, hey, you know what? I've never talked about political issues before. I've literally never discussed social issues. I'm not going to start now. I'm not going to start now. Why would I start now? Christ. And I
Damn,
like
girl,
this
you look
position.
Like a good friend that returns phone calls in 2 to 5 business days. Verg of 2 bite slip.
2 to 5 business days. So yeah. Okay, can I just? Okay. I will say on a personal fundamental level. On a personal fundamental level, I do think that maybe he has some ideas that he should unpack. And maybe if he's curious on learning more, you know, there are a lot of interesting scientific studies that are peer-reviewed that are not about surveys, that are not asking people any of these things, because this is a very common problem that exists in the not progressive space. I don't know if you would call it that, whatever word you would use. But a lot of the people who don't immediately like go very pro-trans or whatever, I guess is what other people would call it. They just don't believe any science unless it is hard science that is based on brain scans and biological functions and things like that. So, in which case I would tell you there are a lot of objective facts about the human body that are more complicated than just XXXY. And that's actually a 3rd grade oversimplification so that we can understand why we classify people the way that we do. So, tweet from a trans woman. Being trans, seeing supposed allies use the phrase biological woman certainly has been frustrating, I think. But I suppose we have to bear in mind scientific term for non-trans women is literally banned as hate speech. So yeah. Oh yeah, dude. The fact that if you write cis, Twitter automatically fucking hides that tweet is crazy. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to the chatters that were a little confused? Like, this is what people call out liberals for doing. What is this in reference to? I don't know what this was. Okay, you guys didn't respond, but I know that those were the two chatters that were concerned that I was calling T1 transphobic. But I hope I explained it a little bit better with you guys, or to you guys, and showed you what I meant by what I said. Anyways, I wish I was omniscient, okay? Because, oh my God, think about how funny that conversation must have been between Tyler1 and Michaela. Tyler1 finishes his 12-hour fucking rager of a stream. He gets off and he's like, did you just tweet this? She's like, me? Ha, no, I would never do that. Ha. Did you just tweet this 4 hours after my announcement with the LCS? Are you stupid? Are you an idiot? What the fuck is wrong with you? I already allow you to say all the crazy shit you want to say on your account. Why are you talking about me? What's wrong with you? What do you think pays for all this shit, man? What do you think gives us this lifestyle, dude? Oh my God. So many R words thrown in that conversation? Yeah. Yeah. And I really wish I was omniscient because I wish I could hear her get absolutely roasted for making the really dumb decision to just torpedo or almost attempt to torpedo his career online. The thing that lets them enjoy a very high quality of life and living standard. Oh, to be a fly on that wall. Oh my God, that must have been so... Well, I had to say that you were also transphobic because they were saying that you hate me and you don't hate me. his only idea in that moment. I do hate you when you say shit like this. Well, this is when I hate you for doing shit like this. Okay, anyways, that's just my personal pleasure.